What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video on Lexalexus Championship Football is back tomorrow, and that means I'm back. I have been gone for about a month. It's not felt like a month, it's gone by as quick as that, honestly. And it's not felt like we've had a big break of domestic competitive football in the UK, but it really has been this long. I'm more than excited to start predicting again. I have not missed actually doing this. It's been great to have a little bit of a break. I am definitely not going to miss the very late nights I'm going to have making these videos for you guys, but I definitely want to finish off this season before I make any decisions about my long-term commitments to YouTube. But more importantly, I'm so happy to be back. I'm so happy to be communicating with you guys again. Let me know, guys, in the comments down below, what have you felt in this past month from the World Cup, because we really need to catch up. And guys, the Prediction League is back in full swing as well. So guys, if you want to enter the Prediction League, make sure you comment your score predictions for the weekend games in the comments down below. We already saw Sunderland play Millwall last weekend, where Sunderland got a tremendous 3-0 victory. Are we going to see any more surprises like that? Well, only one way to find out is to start predicting. But as always, guys, please make sure you smash the like button. Please do hit the subscribe button if you're not done so. And please share the channel too. All of that helps. But without any further ado, let's start predicting this weekend's games. Let's start off with Blackburn versus Preston. So we've got a very weird order in terms of the teams that I'm going to be covering. So normally I'll do it in kickoff time, but the kickoff times are not actually confirmed. There's been a couple of games negotiating kickoff times so that away fans could actually travel back at home at times, so that we can see England play France. So it's going to be a very interesting clash to see, you know, EFL football really go back to full swing, but also seeing World Cup games and England playing France as well. Such a big deal for our country as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how it merges together. But moving back to Blackburn versus Preston, what a game to actually resume the championship season. I think with it being a close local derby, I'm hoping it's going to have a lot. I remember doing a watch along actually last time that I did this game, and Blackburn have definitely been the superior team out of these two teams in terms of their recent head-to-head records, with Blackburn beating Preston twice in a row. And you know, the last time I watched them live, that 4-1 away victory that Blackburn had against them in Deepdale near the end of last season. I do think with this game, I think it's going to be tighter. I think Preston have improved defensively, and I do think Blackburn at home have been relatively good. I'm going to be interested to see if someone like Lindsay is going to improve. He's just extended his contract quite recently for Preston as well, so hopefully we could see maybe him consistently get into the team for Preston now, because he's been really good this year. As a prediction, it's tough, I feel, because I think Blackburn definitely are good at home. Preston have improved their form, but for team out edge, I think it's going to be Blackburn based on their home advantage, but I think it'll be close. I'm going to go for 1-0 narrow home victory to Blackburn to continue their brilliant form. They've still not drawn a game this season, which is amazing, and I think they'll actually extend that lead. So guys, let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. Next game today is Rotherham versus Bristol City. This I think is very interesting. So the break really came at a very peculiar time for both of these sides. I think Matty Taylor was starting to get a bit of consistency with this Rotherham team, not necessarily picking up 3 points, but I do think they were improving a little bit. They definitely were looking like that. They looked a lot more gelled. Bristol City still look very erratic by the way that they play. They've looked consistent at the start, but then as most of us see, they go through one bad patch and then all of a sudden it looks like the wheels fall off very dramatically, and they've not really recovered since then as well. So I don't know what we're going to get, and I think for all of these games it's going to be really tough to predict. Obviously a lot of these teams are going to try and play games behind closed doors, and they have done recently to try and build up their fitness. It's going to be hard to see what teams we're going to see. There's so much unpredictability in these games. So I do think predicting, especially this game week, is going to be one of the trickiest ones. I'm almost treating it like the start of the season again a little bit, with in terms of freshness and lack of momentum, because obviously we've had this long period out of football. As a prediction for this game, something tells me we'll see goals in this. I think Bristol City will definitely score a good couple there. But for some reason, I think the way that Rotherham have been churning out good results recently, I think they'll actually get something. So I'm actually going to go for a crazy 2-2 draw. See both teams really going for it, actually. So we'll go for a draw. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Reading versus Coventry. Now, I do not think the World Cup could have gone for a worse time than Coventry. They were definitely the team in form. They're really starting to accelerate up that table as well. And that long period of a break has really halted their momentum, and it's going to be very tricky for them to pick that up again. It's very difficult mentally to do that. And obviously they've had off the field issues as well, with Mike Ashley taking over the stadium, and I don't even know how to even break down what's going on with Coventry right now. All I can hope is that the background noise is not affecting the morale for Coventry. You do feel sometimes that when that happens, it can have a heavy toll. Reading were not doing particularly well with their form, but they did actually end off their last game before the World Cup with a win against Hull. So there's not much for me to base it off. I do think with this game, I would have backed Coventry had it been, straight after when they won their last game before the World Cup. But I think that whole momentum is going to take them a bit of time to adjust. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think it'll be a really tight contest actually between these two teams. So I'll go for a draw. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Blackpool versus Birmingham. Now, Blackpool had a devastating defeat against Wigan in their last game before the World Cup. And they went down to 10 men very quickly, actually, with Marvin Akita getting a red card. And ultimately, with them having a man down and even taking the lead, going down to 10 men as well, ultimately, in the long term, it really did cost them. It was the first game Wigan had when they parted company with Liam Richardson. And since then, with this long, elongated break, they've got a new manager in Kolo Toure. I don't know how I feel about that. I've not really kept my eyes on him to see what he's done coaching / manager wise. So a bit of an ambiguous pick for me. So it's going to take me a lot to convince me if he's going to be the right man for the job. For Birmingham, Birmingham have actually really defied my expectations. They have also had off the field issues in terms of their proposed takeover collapsing right on them as well. So that period where it looked like they were going to be taken over has completely taken a dramatic U-turn, which has felt like a waste of time. But I do actually feel with those off the field stuff, Birmingham brush that off so well. And I think they will actually use that as motivation to get one over Blackpool as well. Which for me, I think they're really struggling now a little bit. They really need to try and regain that confidence that they had at the start of the season. But not in this game for me. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to Birmingham. I think they will squeak a win away from home in this game. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Middlesbrough versus Luton. So I briefly talked about Wigan changing their managers, but Luton was another team that had to bring a new manager in. Now, this happened just before the World Cup started, that Nathan Jones did depart Luton Town to join Southampton. It's a really, really big hole to try and fill. They did manage to get a draw in their last game before the World Cup started, getting a draw against Rotherham. They've got to face a Middlesbrough team where I feel like now, especially as they've had a good couple of games with Michael Carrick going in, I think they're now starting to have the momentum. They're starting to have the confidence. They know exactly how they've got to play to satisfy Carrick now as well. And I just think the difference is with Luton now having a new manager in Rob Edwards, which I think is a very interesting appointment, but actually quite a positive one in terms of what I did see him do with the likes of Watford, where he briefly didn't really get a chance actually to really show the Championship what he could do for Watford. So I'm glad he's been given a second chance, and I hope for, in a way, it's going to be a redemption arc for him. But as a prediction, I think Middlesbrough are going to feel a bit more prepared based on the cohesion with the squad and how long they've managed to work with Carrick already compared to how little time this squad's worked with Edwards so far. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for Middlesbrough. I think it will be a home win. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game today is Millwall versus Wigan. So Millwall did actually play last weekend against Sunderland. It was a poor 3-0 defeat. I mean, with that one game just happening out the blue, it just shows you that it's so unpredictable. I predicted a Millwall away win, and I was wrong by a long way. It was very cagey in the first half, but actually second half was when Sunderland really went at them, and it actually kind of surprised me to see Mill capitulate the way that they did. But I've always said it, they're always better at home. They face a Wigan side, which I briefly talked about, that Kolo Touré has now taken over as their boss. I'm not too sure if Wigan are really going to play at the level that Kolo Touré is going to expect at the moment. It's going to take time to integrate the styles of play. So I think Millwall will go back to winning ways. They do have a good bounce back ability as well. So I'm going to go for 2-0 victory to Millwall, and I think that will definitely help them keep it within touching distance of the top 6. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Sheffield United versus Huddersfield. I am loving we've got a Yorkshire derby as well. We had Blackburn and Preston with a local Lancashire derby. We've also got a Yorkshire derby as well. So derby weekend, I guess you can call it that. And I've got to say, with these two sides polar ends of the table, it really can go either way actually. Sheffield United will obviously be the favourites with the depth, and obviously with the brilliant performances, you know, especially for Ilban Ndiaye, giving a shout out for how good I've seen him play a couple of games for Senegal. And honestly, I do think Sheffield United will be favourites, but Huddersfield have proven that they can sneak a good couple of results in there, and actually in the away games as well, and games that you would less expect to see Huddersfield win as well. But you do feel that Huddersfield, they cannot afford a really bad patch of form now, otherwise they will start to get cut adrift. They are definitely bottom of the championship, and if they get a good result here, it definitely opens the door that they could potentially start looking ahead thinking, okay, you know, pick up this form, they could try and survive. But Sheffield United have got a good mission on their hands. They're going for promotion. They really need to win this game, and I do think they will. I feel like it's either going to be a 2-1 away win to Huddersfield, or it'll be a comfortable Sheffield United win, and I'm going to go for the latter, and I'm going to go for 2-0 home victory for Sheffield United. But let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. I think it's going to be quite a tough one to predict. Next game to predict is Stoke versus Cardiff City. Stoke and both Cardiff actually have been relatively disappointing for me this season. I've really got to be honest. I think Stoke have been so inconsistent, and it's crazy for me to find out that Michael O'Neill has already found management since departing Stoke early on this season. He's now returned as manager of Northern Ireland. But obviously with Alex Neil, I really would expect that Alex Neil would have done a bit better. But I think it just really shows that there is something fundamentally not right with Stoke. You know, they're going to need a miracle worker to try and turn in the Stoke City that we're used to. And I feel like as, you know, fans, we've got to adjust to the fact that Stoke have just been a sleeping Premier League giant, and it's really going to take them a long time to rebuild themselves. Cardiff, you could argue, being quite similar to that as well, because you would see them compete thereabouts in the top half of the Championship, but this year they are miles off that. So obviously it's Mark Hudson, you know, is still managing them, and he has been confirmed with the official job actually during this long elongated break as well. So good for him, because I actually think since he has taken over, there has been small improvements, but I don't think it's been improvements that Cardiff will feel necessarily proud of, honestly. I don't see much going on in this game. I thought 0-0, but actually I'll go for a draw, but I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, because I feel like both have got really good quality players if they can get given the space. You know, for Stoke, I would associate Nick Powell being one of those players, and for Cardiff, we've got Callum Robertson. Give one of them some space and they will guarantee you goals. So I feel like it'll just be relatively dull, but we'll get a couple of moments of quality. So I'll go for 1-1. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Next, we've got Swansea versus Norwich. Now, this, I think, is going to be very intriguing. Swansea, obviously praised by their style of football, heavy possession. But one thing that I really do have a bit of nerves for Swansea for, which has been their downfall a lot of the time, is that they don't take their chances. They face a Norwich side where I actually felt the international break or World Cup I actually think came at a pretty good time for Norwich, because I do think they were really starting to show a bit of fragility, and it does surprise me that Dean Smith is not getting more out of this team. I remember watching him live against Millwall and I thought, this team looks good and they're gunning for promotion. But it shows really that, I think a bit similar to the Swansea effect, if they keep missing chances and they feel sorry for themselves, it leaves them open, and they've really got to work on that game management. But so do Swansea. I do think these two teams relatively play at a similar rate, so I do think it's going to be quite interesting. And I actually think because of that, we actually won't see many goals. I was thinking once again 0-0, but I think it'll be 1-0, but it's just a question who's going to nick it. I'm going to edge Norwich. I think they'll edge us by 1-0. It feels like it's going to be maybe a counter-attack goal or a mistake at the back or something along those lines. I don't think we're going to see a lot given up with these two teams, so very few goals, but I'm going to give Norwich the edge in this one. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game today is QPR versus Burnley. So QPR are officially the only team in the championship actually who've not got a permanent manager in yet, but the latest rumour I heard is Neil Critchley taking over as QPR manager, and who knows, maybe by Friday morning we'll see a new QPR manager, because those things tend to happen when I pre-record all of these videos these days. But regardless, QPR need to find someone quick, and it's been a bit unfortunate on their part. You know, we were praising Mick Beale for turning down a Premier League job, trying to stick with QPR, get them promoted as he was suggesting, and QPR was slowly starting to fall away a bit, but then Rangers kept calling and Mick Beale could not resist. So it does leave QPR in a bit of a mess, and I do think they're going to have to write a couple of these games off, but at least try and compete in them. But I don't think they could have faced anyone worse for Burnley, even though with the big break that they had and the amount of players that they had in the World Cup. I do think Burnley will be one of the teams that I think will pick up their form the quickest after the World Cup. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory to Burnley. I think Burnley will be pretty comfortable with this one. But let me know what you think about in the comments down below. Next game today is Watford versus Hull. This, I think, is going to be interesting as well. Watford, I think, are going to be another team that I think will recover quickly after the World Cup, or just like after the big break that they had. Ismaila Sarr for Senegal as well, actually, by the way, deserves a big shout out as well. Saw him a couple of times when Senegal were playing their teams, and I've got to say, both Ndiaye and Sarr really made the championship lot proud. They looked very, very dynamic in their games that they were involved in their national team. With Hull City, they are a team going through transition at the moment, with Nian Rosenior taking over as their manager, and their results have been a few and far between. You know, it's not been relatively consistent, and it's not really a positive trajectory, really. I do think Hull this season will be thinking, right, if they could just plateau just above around that relegation area, you know, they'll make a tick that they could survive this season and potentially start going on a future plan later on. With Watford, however, long-term planning is something that they flush down the toilet, because they operate with short-term manager contracts. You know, it'll be unheard of to see Watford give manager like a 5-year contract, really. And I think Slaven Bilic, with the brief time he's been in, replacing, of course, Rob Edwards, as I mentioned in the beginning, I think he's done all right, actually. I think definitely it's been a pretty shaky start, but he has started to pick things up a bit. I think Watford are starting to improve. It's going to be interesting to see how quickly they pick up with that long break from the Championship, but I do think Watford will edge it. I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Watford in this game. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. And the final game to predict is Sunderland versus West Brom. Sunderland, of course, played last weekend and were brilliant against Millwall, completely beating them by 3-0, which is never easy to do. But they did, and I gotta say, you know, Ross Stewart is looking like that he's about to recover. He did not play for Sunderland against Millwall, but he is looking like that he's slowly but surely starting to climb back into the squad. Maybe not this weekend, but potentially the next game that Sunderland play after West Brom, Ross Stewart could potentially be given a little bit of time, which will be very exciting for them, because he started this season like a house on fire. He was doing really, really well for Sunderland there. And maybe that sort of news is going to really help them project back up the table, because they've been a little bit inconsistent as of late. With West Brom, likewise with Coventry, they really did not want this long World Cup break, because they were really improving their form. They were really rooted in that bottom three at one point, but since Corberan's come in, he's picked up clean sheets, he's picked up positive results. Ultimately, some really good things are happening with West Brom now with Corberan coming in. But I think against a Sunderland team where we saw last week how good they can be, I think it's going to be tricky for them. I think most people will be predicting a Sunderland win, but I do think with West Brom's improvement and their resilience, they might get something, but I don't really see each team winning here. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, therefore, in this game, and I do think with what they've got to offer, I think they'll cancel each other out. So I'll go for a 1-1 draw. Now what do you think in the comments down below? Right guys, so that is all of the predictions done. My gosh, I have missed this. I'm definitely not going to enjoy the editing. That's the one thing that I didn't miss. But in terms of talking to you guys, I'm really happy to be back. Hopefully I'll be back for the foreseeable. It's just definitely so many things going on in my life at the moment, but definitely want to continue predicting the championship, as it's been something that this channel's been built on, and I really want to try and keep that legacy as long as I can. But if you guys enjoyed the video today, please give the video a like. It does tremendously help the channel. Please do hit that subscribe button if you're not done so. It does really help the channel. And please also share the channel too. All of those things really do help. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary for the end of this video, and as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.